just barely catches it. Now Limon is going to try and overtake on Fonseca. Fonseca gives that one up, almost a little too wide there for Limon. Holds tough and sending it deep around the banking, and Shell Oil, he's going to take the spot back. Fonseca, that was a brilliant move. This is full drift here from the Japanese driver. Watch this. Unreal. That car should not be still going. That is just seat of your pants stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of landed a little bit wrong for him, but fortunately, at least pointed in the right direction. This was crazy, though.
And hasn't been shaken, but man, is he close to that wall.
Look at the oversteer. He looks to the inside. Michael tried to cover off. He's going to squeeze him down a little bit. Tries to open up the corner. Cut back and see if he can get the launch, and it's much quicker off. Oh, but he covers him down to the inside.
Oh my goodness, covers him down to the inside. I think there may have been a little bit of contact there, but Michael Johnson going to get the benefit of the draft here. You can see him closing down on the back of the 79. And there's the late move from Michael going down to the inside, trying to get into the braking zone.
The red mist is up for these two, and down into the braking. Can Johnson get it done? Yes, he does. Don't count out Travis. Tries to cut back. Goes the long way around. Nothing doing. No, he holds tight. He could try and get it in there. No, now he starts to fall back.
Starts to fall back. Going to try to send it a little bit on the outside of 15. Sometimes you can get a crossover there, but not going to work. He's going to have a wider line now into Turkey to try to carry a little bit more speed, but he's not going to find an easy way to try to get on by. And indeed, Michael Johnson just slides that car off the apex a little bit to prevent off any attack.
The battle for the 2022 Season 2 Championships are coming to their final stages. Last time out, it was Jakub Majewski who helped his chances at ripping away the GTP title lead from a dominating run he had at Lime Rock Park. However, the multifaceted driver and Editor Sanchez Galindo has been the man to beat in regards to consistency, with 2 more race starts counting towards his name compared to the Magic Man. Meanwhile, Philip Blake has been feeling the pressure of drivers attempting to drain the waters around the top spot of the standings into a puddle. Finnish driver and Yuko Leskola has been outscoring Lake for the past 4 out of the 5 rounds on the trot, including 2 victories as of late. Those battles look to come to a head as we get ready to go racing for round 10 of the Kamel GT series, and we'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Good afternoon, my name is Justin Prince. Alongside me for today's action is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Today, the series is heading to Japan's first full-fledged racing course in its history, Suzuka Circuit. Let's learn more about this Japanese icon with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard?
Now let's look at our GSRC track guide for Suzuka. Now, Adam, today could be an intriguing one for these older style race cars here at this facility. Plenty of intense battling expected on the docket. And while this facility recently did change their track logo compared to one you see here, the action remains the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Suzuka International Racing Course has long created some of Kamel's most memorable moments. This 3.6 mile or 5.8 kilometer 17-turn circuit is one of 2 figure-8 road tracks on iRacing, but you hardly notice it while driving. The Nissans will feel extremely at home here, with the many sweeping medium-speed corners giving way to high downforce, high-speed corners towards the end of the lap, with the only 3 slow-speed corners in the entire circuit. And this means that the Audis will have a bear of a time here, with many drivers setting up their cars quite loose to try and reduce the infamous GTO understeer and transfer some of that tire heat to the rear tires. Multiclass here is spicy to say the least, with only 2.5 lanes of playroom for the Nissans to get past the Audis. The biggest danger zones for multiclass are through the Snake into Degner 2, into Spoon, strangely enough, and through 130R. The Nissan also has to be careful of the Audi's impressive acceleration out of the Casio triangle, as it's actually faster to follow an Audi through that sequence than to try and pass them on entry. Speaking of passing, the best places to pass, as mentioned in the video, are Turn 1, into the hairpin, into Spoon if you can stick it, and into the Casio triangle. Everywhere else is a risky danger zone that will lose you a lot of time. If the past 2 weeks are any indication, Justin, this promises to be a very spicy race.
Absolutely, this could be very spicy. The racetrack that opened 60 years ago, looking to be on the road to the future. Let's take a look at the race details to see what's in our very near future. For today's action, it's the 10th round of the campaign. 40 minutes on the docket for competitors and open setups. No fast repairs available, meaning if you damage your car, it could end your race. The drive-through penalty for today, the threshold at 17 incident points. Disqualification comes in if you approach 25 incident points for today's action. It's also worth noting it's moderate qualifying scrutiny for those competing in 8 minutes, 2 laps of solo qualifying for today's round in Kamel GT action. A lot to consider amongst those championship battles in turn, Adam, because they have been tightening both brackets when you consider things. So let's take a look at the GTP driver standings. 26 points the difference amongst the top 2 today.
Yeah, absolutely. HR Santos Galindo in a good position right now, 26 points ahead of Jakub Maciejewski. Maciejewski has been on a tear recently. 4 wins to his name, 5 poles over the course of this season of 10 rounds, so that's a good pace for him. He's looking to try and close that gap. Kraytrick just a little bit behind Maciejewski, trying to follow Maciejewski into that top spot, with Laust Olsen not having a great week last week, falling back just a little bit to 43 points. Everyone else on the standings, it's still very close, honestly, between all of these GTP drivers, Justin.
And then when you factor in the GTO side of the card, it has been a similar battle, because as we hit upon at the top of the broadcast, the Finnish driver, and Leskola, he is now within 12 points of Philip Lake. That gap has reduced significantly over the past few races, where while Lake scored, say, top 4, top 3 in class, it has been Yuko who has been amongst those winning the past 2 races and has outscored him the past 5, including 1 drop round having to be taken for Lake in that sequence. The teammate to Philip Lake, and Nicholas Buchanos, is in 3rd, 27 points back. Del Olmo Miller round out the top 5. Keep in mind, Alex Mudward currently the edge of the top 10, 107 points back today. What's expected to be possibly a pivotal round for the drivers in today's action. And with plenty of special events in play, including today's special race, it is a very large field of competitors. 29, make it 30 drivers, in fact, have made their way to Japan for today. All at varying talent levels, many of them in the hunt for valuable championship points. Adam, your breakdown of what we may see in terms of those splits in terms of classes today, with such a big field.
Yeah, it's 30 cars is actually a pretty moderate field for us this season. We've had numbers up in the realms of 54, 55. So definitely the Indy 500 taking a little bit of a toll on the attendance, but looking like a pretty even class split here between the GTPs and GTOs. So that's actually going to make for very interesting battles. I think the GTOs have a little bit of a numbers advantage, just a tiny bit, maybe 2 or 3 cars over the GTPs, and that's going to make the battling for the GTPs very challenging, especially when they come around for their first time of asking, lapping through the GTOs. Coming through the Snape, through Dunlop, also into Spoon, we're going to expect to see some GTPs taking some risky moves to try and gain time on their competitors behind, and that can often lead to incidents. So the GTOs are going to have to be very careful to get out of the way of those desperate GTPs when they come through the first time of asking.
Taking a look at some of the drivers in qualifying, you seen moments ago, Trangarade is the leader right now in GTP. GTO, though, has changed from this man, Phil Blake, to a 0.3 of a second advantage for the car, which may look inconspicuous. But when it comes to Leskola, his speed is anything but that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yuka Leskola, usually quite dominant in qualifying. 0.3 is, one of the smaller guys we've seen recently. He's been half a second faster than Phil in a couple of rounds as well. But Phil is able to keep it close when it comes to the race pace, and Leskola tends to burn up his tires a little bit more aggressively. So here's Majewski coming around to try and set his first lap. Let's see whether or not it's pole position, and if not, it looks like we have Ove Trenger at the top of the board right now. But as he crosses the line of 43.202, that is pole position. Provisional pole for Majewski. Good time for him.
Up to a 143.193, in fact. Seen on the side of the car, some backing from Satellite Racing. Wants that performance, too. Trangarade, back to him. 0.3 need to be picked up. Trying to take these corners very careful. He misses part of the Casio Triangle's apex, though. See if things improve. In fact, you see there the time way off compared to before, compared to his first mark. Let's talk quickly about weather conditions, too. Very hot today, Adam. And I'm not just talking about some of the paint schemes. I'm talking about track conditions. Look at how hot it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 12:12 virtual standard time for these drivers, which means that it's the deepest part of the sun beating down on this track. 122 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 50 C, guys. 50 C on track for these drivers. It's going to be a slick track out there today. Braking zones are going to be very, very perilous. Let's see. Yuka Leskola crosses the line, does improve by another 2.5 tenths over his previous lap. That does put him in a good position. Still about 3 tenths ahead of Phil Lake.
Lake already completed his qualifying run as well, keep in mind. So most of the drivers have completed qualifying. This is an opportunity for some of the competitors, too, to possibly showcase how they stack up against, say, the top-ranking iRacing competitors and top drivers in the series. There's a wide range of division contenders for today's action, all the way from Division 1 as far back as Division 9 in terms of series splits. Keep in mind that lowest division mark has 8 drivers fighting for a championship this season, for example.
Yeah, we have iRatings from 6.9K down to 0.4K, so very wide split, Justin.
These drivers about to get themselves very tested here. In just a moment, let's take a look at your starting grid for today's action. Starting off with the GDPs, 14 cars have qualified in that class today. That's Juicy. He starts today on the pole with Trangarade in second. Sentes Galindo starts in third with Los Olsen in fourth. Then, behind them today, amongst that big stacked grouping of drivers today, is Craig Chirek, who we start alongside Seamus Power. Powell saw as Juarez put in a lot of practice coming into today. He'll start alongside Emerson Galvin. Then it's Christian Arribas starting alongside Javier Mascarera. Then it's Labovic, followed by Bodenauer, and the Clappers did not set qualifying times. Adam, how are the GTOs looking?
Well, we got Yuka Leskola and Phil Lake on the front row, as usual for these drivers. Reed Miller outperforming himself today in third position with Nick Bacanos in fourth. We got Gregorio Buscemi in fifth position with Javier Del Olmo lined up in sixth with Franco Scurry down in seventh. A decent qualifying for him today, but Jamie Hamill-Smith a little bit out of position down in eighth position. Gabriel Letty is going to be down in ninth position with Robert Plumley, your first driver who did not set a qualifying time for the Audis, and we got quite a few of those. Pablo Rangel, Jacob Elliott, Javier Delgado, Thabad Ros Puzzle, Nicholas LaPlante, and Austin Badker all did not set qualifying times. That sounds like a minefield for those GTPs when they come through, Justin.
Well, 30 seconds till the starting grid gets itself rolling towards 130R. Your keys to victory today if you want to win here in Japan.
The keys to victory is stay out of trouble. There's oftentimes a lot of contact that happens around this track because of how fast and how narrow it is. The driver's going to have to be very, very careful around here, especially the GTO leaders, Yuka Lesko and Phil Lake. They need to be very, very careful around here, and Jakub Maciejewski is going to have to cut through the back of that pack very gently as well.
We have a few different onboard looks today, featuring the various onboard cameras, including Phil Lake, who is wearing a VR headset from the movie Tron, it appears. Then you also have Laust Olsen, who has a viewpoint today. He has his Olsen working on the spotter stand to help with him today. He'll be also starting towards the front in his class. Two different contrasting looks. Drivers getting themselves ready to look to see they can win here at Suzuka. 40 minutes up on the clock. How will the strategies play out? Let's find out. Maciejewski in control of the field for the GTPs is already to the gas. Green flag is out. We're underway from Japan.
Absolutely a good start from Maciejewski coming across the line, trying to keep that position. Looks like Laust Olsen has fallen back just a tiny bit. He's being challenged by Ove Tranger and Nitro Sintes Galindo, who are side by side as they enter turn one. And it looks like we already have a car off. I believe that's Sintes Galindo who's gone off. He's now falling back in the field.
That's Trangerade who went off the track all the way to the mid-pack. Here's a look at the GTOs meanwhile. 2x2 several rows deep. Let's go with holding on in front of Lake, entering the first corners though towards the Snake. Very clean start. Some of them holding very firmly 2x2 still. Lake trying to cross them up for the lead.
Great work from Lake to try and get to the outside. He's going to get there and keep a nose in on that rear wheel of Leskola. This is a fantastic start from him. He's going to try and cut this off, but it's going to swap back over when they get to Dunlop, and he's going to have to fall back in behind Leskola. He's going to try and do the over-under again, but this will put him on the outside of Degner 1. That's not a place you want to be.
One car up at the head of the field, and the GTPs of note, more than a second advantage. In the GTOs, very different story as seen so far. Let's go with trying to hold on to the point, keeping pressure behind to is Reed Miller. Picked up a couple spots from the get-go. Starting off the race in the It's Miller Time inspired paint scheme as they go through the hairpin.
A little bit of a lockup from Leskola, and a miss shift is going to put him off track. So that means he's going to be falling back quite a bit. Mekanos falls in behind Leskola, but that puts Phil Lake in the lead with a buffer up to Reed Miller between the two of them.
That's a surprising mistake. Seen a bit of the tire smoke from the onboard, and now Two Machine, who has been very quick from the get-go for the past couple weeks. Not the best of starts after a 6-second advantage to end things off last time out. By the way, battles in GTP, they're already getting to where the draft train is getting broken up. Trangerade from his mistake, he fell back all the way to 8th position. Battle is on for second though.
Yeah, it's a tight battle now between Laust Olsen and Galindo. Both of them in a really good position to grab a second place today. Sintes Galindo's going to want to hang on to that due to the points situation. Laust Olsen trying to improve off of a bad week last week. These guys need to get this sorted out before they come around to the GTOs again. But that being said, still about 3/4 of a lap to go, so it's going to be a while before they run into that traffic.
Speeds right now, keep in mind, big of about 20 seconds difference for the opening lap. See how things fare out with the first flying laps around the track. Speaking of drivers trying to fly around cars, it's the battle for 6th in the GTPs. GTO should say. Amongst that battling, that's Buscemi trying to find things around Franco Scuri in the Audi Sport Italia car.
Yeah, Franco's doing a good job of holding that position. He actually was able to make that pass on the inside of Buscemi going into turn 1. Buscemi a little slow off the corners, meaning he's putting on the pressure from Robert Plonley. But look at this. This is GTP. Trangerade falling back. Emerson Gowdid trying to go around the outside. Can't quite do so. Ove Trangerade up to 7th.
Trangerade trying to get that recovery going from having to use all the runoff space in turn 1 to start off the day. Out and slipping on back. Trying to keep within the draft. Here is the back part of the grouping right now. Mascarella right now in that pack. It's a pink machine. Iberian driver looking to use the power of the Angry Bunny that's at the very tip of the nose of that car.
Yeah, Mascara looking on this battle, and because of the battle, he's actually gaining a little bit. Look at how deep Trangrade went into the Casio triangle. That actually gave him a little bit of a disadvantage coming off of the corner, but he actually
Trouble in the GTO. The second driver in the standings, a full four-wheel drift just now for Leskela. You see the battle for GTP, but the two-car battling in the top three in their class just had to drift the whole way through Spoon to avoid a spin. And there's a bit of leeway given from the Dirty Torque SimRacing car to give him space back.
Yeah, if they would have gone in there side by side, Leskela would have been completely shoved off course. Nick McConnell's giving Leskela that position. Leskela tends to get fairly aggressive when he's behind the 8 ball. Let's take a look at this replay and watch this drift.
And this drift, you talk about contenders for the top 10. How about a contender for the top spot for the top 10 right from the get-go? Watch how long this drift is from this initial attempt on the apex.
Yeah, Yuko has a lot of experience with the drift. He actually flicks it in on purpose because he knew he was going to go wide. So he just uses the skill he tends to show us when he wins races. Just flicked it around the corner. Lost a ton of time to Reed Miller. I think it would have been faster for him to just back out of it a little bit, Justin.
You know, the interesting thing, there's a little bit of a shadow down that straightaway, down the backstretch to 130R for one of the shorter courses at Suzuka. He spent a fair bit of time practicing his drifting in that section at the end of the last practice session before today. That practice obviously has worked out a bit for him. Let's take a look at the battle for second though, because Olsen and Sintez Galindo, they're busy fighting. Olsen with the dive.
Fantastic dive from Olsen. That's going to bring Galindo with a good run onto the front straight, though. He's got to get stuck right in behind Olsen. He's going to look to the inside here, as I believe we've had a wreck in the Casio Triangle as well, back further in the pack. But look at this. Galindo up the inside. Laus Olsen trying to hang tougher on the outside, but Galindo's going to have that position.
This is all live, mind you, in all this. You mentioned the trouble for Gowden. It's dropped him to 9th. That was at the end of the front straightaway. Olsen cycled back to 3rd. Despite the hard send to the Casio Triangle. The driver's now up to full speed, 15 seconds the difference for the fastest GTP and the fastest GTO on the racetrack currently. Right now, the GTOs, they're already coming through the back straightaway, with the leaders for this class in GTPs just starting to approach the hairpin.
Yep, absolutely. So we're actually getting some bridge action there. You see the Audis going over the bridge and the GTPs coming through under the bridge. That's Maciejewski, our leader right now, going through the hairpin. This indicates they're about half a lap away from each other. So this is a good position for them to be in. Very interesting to be thinking about all these battles that are going on track, Justin, as everyone's trying to sort out their fights before the passing starts to happen with these classes, because even with the reduced field we have, these GTPs are going to end up making quite a bit of chaos when it comes to passing the GTOs.
Here's a look at Sintez Galindo, and keep in mind he runs in a fair bit of events in different types of cars, especially seen in the past, say in the Major Series, running different types of car manufacturers and types. Pushrod Racing Machine, right now at the moment, in terms of pace, 3 seconds behind the leader in the 145.7s on average. Olsen not making it easy amongst this fight.
Yeah, but all Galindo needs to do is just hang out here in second position. He just needs to defend this second position, and he'll be able to secure the championship over a charging Maciejewski, even if Maciejewski wins it out this season. So Sintez Galindo in a good position right now, because Maciejewski had some bad luck in a missed race earlier in the season, so that puts a little bit of padding in for Sintez Galindo, but he's not going to want Laus Olsen to get past him.
Still getting close amongst the snakes. Still, of note, some of the other drivers in the various trains, including drivers who didn't set times like Jason Clapper, amongst those who just swapped a bound for the 10th position. Things looking pretty even in the early going for the race leaders. Philip Lake, we mentioned GTOs, he's having a lot of trouble behind him. You look at Clapper, behind him, everyone else is slipping around the track. Miller's got damage. Philip Lake nearly drifted off the track himself in Spoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of the Dirty Torque drivers slipping off the track in Spoons. A Spoon, it's always a challenge in the Audis. The Audi just wants to, it does not turn in Spoon. It just doesn't. I think that's why Yuka Leskela flicked the car just a little bit there a couple laps ago. But look at that, lockup from Phil Lake. He sees Yuko Leskela behind him now. He's trying to push, but Yuko's starting to close that gap a little bit now that Reed Miller's out of the way.
Remember, Phil Blake with plenty of experience. Let's take a look at what we were referring to. This is the battle for second. And notice how it was a clean car entering Spoon for Miller. And then, not a clean car for the bump.
Yep, absolutely. So just ended up going over that curb, and that curb's high enough to knock the front left fender in just a tiny bit for Reed Miller. That will be affecting his turn-in on the lefts. So that's going to be something he's going to have to contend with. But if Reed can stay attached to Yuka Lesko, he could possibly help his teammate Phil Lake out once the two start battling up front.
This train, keep in mind, stretching all the way back to 8th in class. Robert Plumley, the last of those cars in the train, who is still up 3 positions from the get-go. Here's a look at the GTPs. This is Suarez, early battling out for 5th position with Seamus Howell, trying to use his orange, blue, dark blue, and white machine to pull away in the cleaner space, or he can even go to the sand as he avoids some of the traffic that they're now in the midst of.
Yeah, these are the early back markers from the GTOs. That pack that you talked about with the GTOs, 9 cars long from 1st to 9th. So this is the early GTOs that they're navigating now. And these are going to be the slower guys who aren't the most efficient at making this multi-class work. So trying to cut through as quickly as possible is going to be necessary as we ride on board with the recovering Ove Trangarate.
That was Delgado they had to avoid that time of the corner exit. And off to the hairpin. This is also allowing some bumpers to build up for Craig Churek, who is on his own in the pack, for example. More discussion amongst some of those in the GTOs, such as Franco Scori, to how to navigate some of this traffic in a moment or so. Here's a look at the pole now in the GTPs, a bit of a drift.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good attempt from Ove Trangarate. He ended up pushing Pablo Suarez to make a mistake. Looks like we've had a mistake from our second to last driver in the GTPs, Zlato Pavlovic. It's really easy to spin up the rear tires on the GTPs coming out of the hairpin, and here's what we'll see. We'll see why.
And you see how easy can it be? Wow, that was quick.
Yeah, it snaps on you. There's absolutely no way you can catch the thing once you realize you don't have time to realize it's happening. It just happens to you. So, you know, it's happened to everybody. He recovers and he continues in 13th.
Seeing how difficult it is also to get the K-turn done in the middle of the circuit such as that, while making sure you don't get ran over by other cars too. That's a critical thing. When you have to turn around, you don't want to block the track for obvious reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. So our leader in the GTPs, Maciejewski, has now caught up to that GTO pack that we've talked about, Justin, and here he is cutting through these battling GTOs. These guys aren't going to want to give up time.
This was a discussion point we were talking about before today. The possibility of frustration amongst this. It's seen in the modern cars. It's seen even in these types of cars. If you have a faster car, they want to go fast and zip around fast.
Yep, that was a really respectful move from Maciejewski to not take away Degna 2. That was a really, really respectful move there, and it ensured a safe passage for both himself and Franco Scuri. But now, Maciejewski has the challenge of trying to navigate these GTOs who need all of the track here to try and get through around here at Spoon.
He nearly hit the back end of Del Olmo amongst all of that. Mercados follows him on by. Miller also getting zipped by. Here's a look at some of the other battles that may get a bit of buffer time as a result of some of this traffic management. Trangarate to the back of the pack for this class is the fight for 5th position still. At least 2 or 3 different GTOs within range to be passed here in the next 10 or so seconds, and there goes Power heading one of them. They slam into each other as a result. Suarez sends Power to the wall. One car up and off the road, that's Olsen.
Olsen and Krejcik came together. Oh my goodness.
And that was while passing GTOs as well, yes. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay machine because it will be busy here.
Yeah, the 130R optimism that the GTPs carry through that corner. The GTOs are slowing down to around 100 miles an hour coming through that corner. And the GTPs, I mean, where's the GTO supposed to go? He has to clear to the outside of the track. That car's going to push. Now we've had a wreck from 6th position. Pablo Suarez is around and towed while we've been in this replay, so the chaos really is unfolding. Let's see what happened to Lust Olsen. This is under braking for the Casio Triangle. Reed Miller's got to go to the apex, and Lust just stuck his nose in.
Yeah, it came right across him, and Olsen in turn back to 4th position. Oh, by the way, the Kegel is even worse now for him to deal with. As you can see, the car that's third position didn't really gain much ground because they just had to ride the brake the whole corners.
Absolutely.
And there goes Olsen the drift.
Yeah, Olsen really trying to recover right now. Nick McConnell with a little bit of a misship, losing his opportunity to catch up to Reed Miller, but now he's under pressure from Javier Del Olmo, who's looking to the inside of the hairpin there, riding on board with, taking a look at Lars Olsen and his camera as he's trying to hold off that recovering Ove Trangrade. Ove Trangrade has been able to cut through this traffic like a knife, and he's already back up to his starting position.
I'm shocked at how calm Olsen looks here. He doesn't even look like he's even had to really think about this too much.
Yeah, Joe and I talk about the pucker factor with Laust, and it's actually fairly low right now. So Laust looks pretty calm, as you said.
Yeah, you see him continuing to focus. There is a clean break now for him. Although the next grouping of cars are the GTO race leaders for their class, who are still close to each other. There are some of those now. Philip Lake. Oh, and Olsen gets on by. Lascala stays out of contact there through the sequence, but there's the buffer he might have a smile about over Trangarade.
Yeah, but there's the buffer that Phil Lake has a smile about over Lescala as the GTPs continue to insist to take the inside of the first turn into the Casio Triangle. And that actually slows up both classes when that happens. If you sit behind the GTO when you go through there, you gain a lot of speed because you can draft them coming off of the corner. But the GTPs continue to try and insist to go through that section and actually slows down both classes and separates your battles.
Here's a look at Lake. See ya. He is bobbling with even the motions of the wheel, and this is something people can have with the tilt factor. That VR headset putting itself to the test, so to speak. And he's found a Kamel GT t-shirt too.
Yeah, they sold those, oh my goodness, before I even raced there. So very interesting as Phil Lake now has, oh my goodness, that was Jason Clapper taking it very deep into Degner 1. Able to hang on to it, and he's going to be able to get by Phil Lake before they get to the hairpin. But I'm sure that stresses Phil out. Phil can't take the apex. That's going to put him offline. Although Lescala close up by a couple of tenths. Mascara and Clapper battling is going to slow up Phil Lake off of the corner as well.
That gap still within about a second or so on the racetrack, 1.1 seconds to be precise. Worth noting with all the traffic too that the top two in GTP have cleared on by. That gap's down to 1.6 seconds after a peak of 3 seconds. Also spicing up, E3 still with the traffic. Olsen, he's still maintaining the draft for a podium position in this fight.
Yeah, unfortunately though, losing those 15 seconds to Galindo up ahead means that he's not in the battle for that second spot. But Kraytrick benefiting from all the chaos that happened ahead of him, hanging on to that third position right now. Lost Olsen a little bit too far back to make the pass this lap, I think.
See if there's any pokes around. Olsen not going to be able to do so. Still 5 car lengths back. They are reaching interclass traffic as well, possibly, and Kurt Clapper, who pit at the start of the race, is just up the road from them as well. Of note, Power has had to pit for mandatory repairs. Suarez now out of the race as a result of the parking lot forming up in 130R's corner exit. Jason Clapper having some problems possibly as well, who is up to 7th because he's found a tire barrier. He's off the track. And these cars have zipped on by them already.
Yeah, so Jason Clapper, unfortunately, finding the tire barrier on the exit of turn 1, just clipped the inside curbing, it got unsettled, and we're going to see it here. This is just a matter of just getting your line just a little wrong. He clips the inside curb, gets up on the outside curb, that unsettles the rear of the car, and then it's just into the wall.
That's a very tough break because both of the Clappers did not set a qualifying time for today, Adam. Jason, he was doing very strongly mid-pack already, one of the quicker cars in the pack before the incident.
Look at this. This is another separation of that battle for the lead. That's Emerson Gowden, who decided to go to the apex of the corner, and he's going to get sent around by Yuko Lescala. Lescala was trying to battle with Phil Lake, trying to hang on to that battle. Oh, man. This is heartbreak for Lescala. That's 3.5 seconds lost to Phil.
An unbelievable turn of events now. Once again, that was the 9th place car in the GTPs getting hooked around there. And it was close in the braking zone. Lescala gets into the left rear of the car in front and spins it around. Here's a look from above.
Yeah, Lescala shouldn't have gotten into him, but at the same time, I don't know what Gowden was actually accomplishing by going that deep into, like, by passing Lescala before the hairpin there. He was not going to be quicker off the corner, so I feel like he was just losing time. Let's see it here. This is from Lesko's perspective. Gaudin just dives in front and slams on the brakes. The Audis can't slow down as fast, but he did manage the speed fairly well, Leskola did, but then Gaudin was braking a little bit because Phil Lake wasn't coming off the corner quite quick enough, and that's what led to the contact between the two of them. You know, the fault's squarely on Leskola, but at the same time, I think Gaudin put himself into a dangerous position there.
Of note as well, during that, Bodenauer had a spin commit out of Spoon, pulled the ejector cord, he's out of the race as a result of the ejector being down at seat. Here's a look at the battle again for third. All these drivers approaching the halfway mark of this race, 12 estimated laps to go this time around for this battle.
Crazy how quickly this race happens. It always surprises me here at Suzuka. It really feels fast, but riding on board now with Laust Olsen, or well, we're riding on board with Krajcik looking back at Laust Olsen as Laust is trying to continue to close that gap to third. I'm just curious as to why Laust hasn't tried to make the move. Maybe he just doesn't quite have the straight line speed to get there right now.
Remember, Olsen also had those excursions in the grass. He also has a bit of a scrape on the left front, possibly. You see from the onboard look, if you squint, there are some scrapes at the headlight of that blue and yellow car. By the way, more traffic jams for the battle for third now with Miller.
Yeah, Reed Miller trying to hang on to that position after Nick McConnell got that missed shift coming off of the hairpin a couple laps ago. Nick trying to claw his way back up into the third position, but Reed doing a good job at hanging on to third after all the chaos that's gone on around him. Nick McConnell's trying to hang on there, and Javier Del Olmo, not having the greatest of points days last week, led him to drop a couple of positions. He's looking for a recovery. He would love to get past these two guys.
Right in the midst of the draft, absolutely. Olmo has avoided contact with some of the traffic a couple different times, up 2 positions from the drop of the green. Lake is the biggest mover, along with Del Olmo now. Overall, in terms of positioning on the track, the dive in front of them is up for grabs, though. Miller opens the door. Miller doesn't have anyone jump into it, though.
Oh, Laust Olsen is wrecked again.
Laust Olsen is in trouble indeed from the battle for fourth in GTP. And surprisingly, no major frustration showed other than the head shake.
Yeah, this was Krajcik getting held up by Gabriel Letty through Degner 2. So we're going to see that right here. Krajcik just slams on the binders to not hit Let, and then Laust gets into the back of him, unfortunately.
Rangeride gets into that as well, lifting Olsen off the ground. Meanwhile, at the tip of the field, remember that race lead being 3 seconds? It's gone. Sintez Galindo is within 2/10 and wants it just past halfway. He picks up the draft into turn 1. The block from Jakob, a major block entering the corner. That was close.
Yeah, just a little bit of a fade to the outside for Jakob to try and get that position. We're looking at the 007 cam provided by Dougie Beard here, looking back from Maciejewski on Sintez Galindo. Galindo, those front tires are a little hot. He's having a hard time hitting the apexes now.
Yes, really struggling within that draft weight, possibly, especially that exhaust. Just in the range still of that exhaust pipe to try and sort things out. The draft has been very big, though, down the backstretch, it seems, amongst these two. Speaking of drivers, battling in pairs, Olsen trying to get fifth held on to. No is the answer. The pink car makes the pass.
Yeah, I think Laust just has too much damage at this point. He's got damage on the right and left sides, as well as that damage to the front. He's going to be slow in a straight line and going to be lacking downforce for these long sweeping corners. He's going to start to fall back, but he's got 22 seconds back to Christian Rebus. He might be able to hold on to this 6th position.
Right now, that buffer, very massive. Remember, there's been the curse of who's ever been in 7th place today, with 2 different drivers involved in incidents. Rebus in that position absolutely by 5 seconds. Here's a look at, you see the traffic still holding up that battle for 6th. Positions respectively. That is Rossell, who is trying to use the default paint scheme, riding out of the way, keeping out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. That default Audi paint scheme. Actually a pretty nice one, I think, to be on these cars. That being said, yeah, look at Laust. He just can't cling to the back of Mascara. It just is not really helping him get forward. Looks like Christian Arribas has had a problem, so that actually frees up Laust Olsen a little bit from pressure. Arribas spinning around from 7th. Justin, what's going on? I thought it was a lucky number 7.
the third driver in this class to have an incident from 7th position in the past 15 minutes. Here's Arribas. He was on his own by a fair bit. Bob Warwick was about 5 seconds back. He hits the curbs in one section, hits the curbs in another with the grass, and there it goes.
Almost a similar wreck to Lost Olsen, just without the contact with Kraytrix. So, yeah, trouble for them for sure. The lead battle in the GTPs just got broken up. Jakub Maciejewski just was able to make it past the battle for 8th position, for 7th position in the GTOs. That's Franco Scurry and Jamie Hamill-Smith that we just watched Heitor Sintes Galindo get around, but that has given Maciejewski a couple tenths. Oh boy, that was close stuff from Sintes Galindo as he was trying to sneak by Gregorio Buscemi, who seems to be taking up most of the track himself.
The Pirates paint scheme with a massive squeeze coming out of the hairpin. Here's a look from above. This was already a pucker moment entering this section coming out of Degner, and then it got even more so.
Yeah, so here we're going to see Sintes Galindo come in, and then we've got Gregorio Buscemi who goes wide. He's going to decide to just try and come back to the apex. Galindo backs out of it smartly, but now he's got to try and get back by Buscemi, who then comes across right and almost hits him. So very heads-up driving from Sintes Galindo to not have his race affected, but now the lead of this of the GTPs is going by the battle for 3rd place. Nick Makanos was able to get past Reed Miller while we were watching the earlier battle between Maciejewski and Sintes Galindo. So Makanos now in 3rd, Reed Miller in 4th, and Sintes Galindo has now dropped a 1.5 seconds behind Maciejewski.
Yeah, that Dirty Torque Sim Racing group seems to be very quick when it comes to these cars. We've mentioned Phil Blake and McConnell's part of that camp. Having teammates in something such as this can be very helpful to be able to coordinate to figure out how to get the best out of these types of cars.
Yeah, there used to be a day when we watched Glacier Racing and Dirty Torque battle with 6 cars up at the front, inseparable in the GTO class. Those were amazing days up at the front, almost like the modern MX-5 series in real life. But nowadays, the battles are really strategic. Phil Lake out to 2 seconds over Yuko Leskala after navigating through that traffic more efficiently. Oh my goodness, what just happened? That's Jakub Maciejewski who's gone on his lid.
The race leader, the quickest driver of the day, gets into contact with Philip Lake possibly. Lake was in the vicinity, and then watches this gets bad as he followed the tire tracks. This might be the curbing out of Degner.
It was the curbing out of Degner. There was no contact with Phil, but then Maciejewski loses it, and look who gets the most of the damage. It's Yuko Leskala.
Oh my goodness. Maciejewski flipping on over. Leskala is trying to pass on by the scene in this. He's the next car behind this, 2nd in the class. And remember, he's already had one incident. Then he went to the bridge and then see this.
Where's he supposed to go? That is horrifying if you're a driver. I'm surprised that Yuko got away with that with as little damage as he did, but he has got a mountain to climb to make it up to Phil Lake in the next 13 minutes.
Well, he just had a literal mountain build itself in front of him, and he still found a way through it. But it's Sintes Galindo, the points leader entering today, who has 2 wins on the season, a 2nd from Lime Rock, looking to break through for the first time since Montreal, that being at the start of April. Meanwhile, in the GTOs, 3rd is still up for grabs in the craziness. So let's take a look at the replay machine as more problems. This time is Franco Scurry.
Franco Scurry from 8th, not 7th. So Franco Scurry, this is going to be into the braking for the Casio Triangle. Braking here, and who is that tucked in behind him? Well, I think that might be Ove Trangarade, who gets massively held up as Franco goes deep, Ove goes deep, and both of them just park it on the outside of the entrance to the Casio Triangle.
By the way, he was in 7th during the lockup, then it became 8th. It's been that type of a day if you're in 7th. By the way, Jason Clapper's in 7th again.
Oh no, Jason, no. I would say this is one of those moments where it's almost like, you know, an inverse grid race where you want to let someone pass you almost, but meanwhile taking a look at the battle for P3 and GTO.
Nakano's trying to stay inside, nearly to the grass, is the now 2nd place car in the GTPs. Again, that is Kraytrix trying to zip on by, gets on by the first wave. Trangarade now has a chance for 2nd spot now with this craziness.
And think about this, he was off track at the beginning of this race. He was completely wide going into turn 1. This man might get second place today.
And that's where he started the race, remember? Within a few tenths for the pole position today. And what a recovery for Trangarade. What a collapse for others, you can probably count in that as well.
Yeah, but look at this. Starting to close up now between Reed Miller and Nick McConos. Nick was very defensive last time by on the front straightaway. Reed Miller taking a fairly offensive line into the Casio Triangle. Here we go on the straightaway now. Looks like Nick has a pretty good run. He might not be good enough to hold off Reed. He might have to go defensive again.
Will this be enough to draft up with the damage difference? Right now, only 3 miles an hour quicker entering the first corner.
Yeah.
About 6 to go on estimate for the class, 11 minutes to go, and Miller nearly hits him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that damage, Justin. I think the damage is just affecting Reed Miller enough that he doesn't quite have the overspeed in the draft to try and make a move on Nick McConos in that position. He's going to have to try something a little bit more desperate, but while we're watching this, Ove Trankarade's getting close to Kraytrick.
3 cars covered under a blanket, and how about a GTP to break it up a bit? Kurt Clapper gets around. Here's Trangarade, he's getting broken up. Again, the 2 car.
Yeah, Leskala almost got collected in a wreck there. Kraytrick trying to go around Leskala through Dunlop. That's a dangerous place to try and pass the GTO. Phil Lake locking up the front right tire into the, into the hairpin there. Means that actually held up Kraytrick a bit, but Trangarade feels a little gun shy at the moment. He's not feeling like he wants to be super deep on these braking moves, but there he is diving past Phil Lake to try and gain a little bit of time on Kraytrick.
Another close call for Philip Lake, who has a buffer that, through all this, is still 2 seconds. It's stagnated almost, despite the craziness going on both of them so far. Compare that to Sintez Galindo with the craziness. He leads by 30 seconds. How can you lose 30 seconds?
I mean, we saw Matt Jajewski do it. But we have a battle for second position again in the GTOs. Third position. It's Reed Miller and Nick McConnell side by side as they go to 130. Oh, that's a dangerous place to try and make a move. Reed sticks it. Nick gives him the room. Last Olsen thinks, you know what? I don't want some more contact today. He backs out of it as they go into the Casio Triangle.
Mikado still stays behind Miller throughout the Casio Triangle. He has the cleaner car and the better run, though. Defensive line for Miller ready. He escapes to the center of the racetrack. Here comes Olsen to mix things up as well. To the left side goes Mukanos. Olsen lets them fight it out. Mukanos overpowers to the curb. Miller misses the corner and hits him. A slide as Olsen dodges. Here comes Del Olmo for the chance to pass in, just about does.
Nick McConnell is not going to want to give this up, but he has to. He's got to go to the outside and try and swing back around on Del Olmo. McConnell's hip check to the outside by Reed Miller as they were going through one side by side. It was a tight, close, contactless battle up to this point, but Reed Miller just makes one little mistake, and that pitches Nick McConnell off track a little. Well, not off track, but just offline a little bit, and Javier Del Olmo hops into that 4th position.
These positions have been like hot potato all throughout today. Del Olmo, one of his highest marks of the race, up 5 spots from the get-go. Of note, Ariba's had issues down the front stretch. The overall race leaders have had to zip by the 8th place GTP. Speaking of zipping by, Hauer, from the pit lane earlier, zips into the grass.
Yeah, that held up Javier Del Olmo and Nick McConnell a little bit. They both got a little cautious there. Good moves from them to avoid contact, but Power take it too deep into the hairpin. Just gets in the grass a little bit. He'll have to repass these guys now. But man, second in the GTP is getting tight.
Very compressed amongst those GDPs you're talking about. That's the 11 and the 10. Remember, Trangarade's amongst that fight. That's curling on the front stretch compared to the back straightaway section for these respective cars battling at the moment on screen still. Keep an eye on those respective fights as you see.
Oh no.
The 21 in problem. This is 6th place. He's now in 7th from it.
Zlatko Pavlovic was having a fantastic race, but unfortunately just sliding out from 6th place. Yeah, this happened around the outside of Spoon. This is just a real problem point for drivers today. This was just getting on the curb, Justin.
Yeah, watch the apex here, that rumble strip right there. Second time he's been getting loose in the middle of an apex or exit such as that today. That respective car Wolbeck really snapping around too after the slide. 5 estimated laps to go for them in this race. Here's the look at the battle for second. Trangarade with lockup, nearly spun it.
They're going past the Bode Russell, who went to the outside of the hairpin after he locked up entering. Actually puts Trangarade at a disadvantage because the GTP really doesn't like to get up from 0. But unfortunately for him, he's going to have to fall back a little bit. But Justin, I've been keeping my eyes a little bit on the battle for first in the GTOs because, I mean, I thought to myself, there's no way Yuko can get back up there to Phil. It's down to a second and a half. Now, granted, he only has 6 minutes left, but if Phil makes a mistake or gets held up at all, Yuko's right there.
Yeah, he has been trimming it down. Look at that lap 14 and lap 16. That's a 1.3 second difference closed in alone in those past 2 laps. Some of it with traffic.
Oh!
Trouble going on in the battle for third. Mikanos has had some issues battling it out for that spot. He is the wrong way around and he destroys the car in the rear with the backup.
Yeah, this was coming through Degner 2 again. Degner 2 causing problems. He just got into the gravel on the exit and loses it heading towards the hairpin.
Already hitting the curbs on the right side, hits the sand on the left. What a save to avoid running into the other cars around, and then the trying to turn around moment. Wow.
He had to get out of the way. It was a self-sacrifice moment to make sure they didn't affect anyone else's battles. He could have stuck it out. He would have been in the middle of the track. That was a really good moment for him to try and save that. But look at this. The battle for third between Del Omo and Reed Miller, still tight between the two of them as they try and battle this out. And I can report Yuko Leskola is now only 6/10 behind Phil Lake. 5 minutes to go.
Is this a massive concern if you're Dirty Torque Sim Racing now? Because both of the cars now from that camp are losing ground and fast. First, we've seen it with the number 8. Lake, the leader, his gap is reduced significantly. Is that a concern?
I mean, the concern is the fact that I think you guys have been burning off your front tires a little bit too much. It's possible the set was a little bit too tight over the course of this race, and because of the hot track temperatures, it's still 122 degrees, 50 C out there for these drivers. These front tires are not gripping the way they used to. Yuko usually sets up his cars a little looser than Phil Lake. I think that's benefiting him on this racetrack right now. Phil Lake locking up the right front, going through Degner 2. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see whether he locks up the right front going into the hairpin again.
Then half a second now. Remember, Lesko has not been afraid to roll it around the hard inside to the hairpin today. Will that be a factor? They have 2 estimated laps to go for their class, this time around with 4 minutes up on the clock. The best passing chance today have been either the back straightaway or the run out of the last curb to the first curve, down the front stretch. Will this open up the opportunity a little bit more roll for the 2?
Only 2 more chances for Yuko Leskola to do it on the front straightaway if he wants to. Otherwise, it's going to have to be back here into the Casio Triangle. Phil Lake not going to get held up here by Jason Clapper, who's able to clear them both before 1:30 hour. Look how close Yuko is. Nose to tail they are as they head towards the Casio Triangle. Yuko Leskola looking up the inside. He's going to try to late break it. Can't quite get there. Phil Lake locking up the right front as he just clips the inside curb. Yuko with a good run off of the Casio Triangle. This is his best shot yet.
Leskola gets in the draft. 2 estimated laps to go, down to the final 3 minutes. Better towing than some by 5 miles an hour to descend to the right side of the first corner. A squeeze from Lake. Both of them bobble round to the brakes. Leskola misses a bit of the curbing. Lake zips back to second with the pass.
Yeah, Lake just couldn't get the car turned in. The car's too tight. Justin, it's too tight for him to make that turn around the outside of turn 1. Yuko Leskola up to the lead of this race. Phil's going to have a hard time clinging to the back of Yuko with that car tight and being in the dirty air now.
Meanwhile, Trangarade still fights it out for second in GTP. He tries to position to the right side for the Casio Triangle, showing the nose. Not close enough for the send quite yet on Krejcirek for the second position on the podium. Here comes the pole though. The 11 does have damage still from some of the stack-ups earlier. Trangarade with the pole.
10 with a little bit of damage to the left side of the airframe as well. It's going to make it challenging for him to get by. He doesn't quite have the overspeed on Krejcirek. He had a good exit, but unfortunately, it looks like Javier Del Olmo and Reed Miller have had a car problem. Reed Miller's off.
And that has left Del Olmo on his own. You mentioned Miller. He's the wrong way around, and he has a lap car with them. and he slams on another car. Two teammates were bunched together from Kentucky Racing. Plumley gets slammed as Miller, he's the wrong way around the whole sequence after navigating that bluish and pink car.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that was, I can't remember who that was, but as we've been watching this, Robert Plumley had another issue, but Reed Miller is making contact with that slower car through Degner 1. We're going to take a look at this again. This is just a really...
That's Gabriel Lady, who has been trying to let drivers go. Wow. Miller outbraked himself in the first place to set up that disaster.
He was just too close. I think he thought Lady would be his reference for braking, but Lady took it too deep into the corner. And Miller takes it too deep as well and makes contact with Lady. So, unfortunately, those two getting together. But take a look at this. Sintes Galindo coming down the straightaway to start his white flag lap.
Final minute on the clock. Sintes Galindo, he was able to reel in a 3-second gap in the midway portion of the race on the Magic Man. Then the Magic Man sent himself upside down, hitting the top of the bridge. Now it's about closing out 26 seconds the gap. Meanwhile, Leskola, it has been an unbelievable recovery drive from several different incidents, from a legitimate mountain built up by the flipping car in the 1. And he's leading coming to the final half lap.
Yeah, if Leskola wins this one, it will definitely be earned for him. Phil Lake has one more chance, and that's going to be into the braking for the Casio Triangle to make it by. I can report Kraytrick and Ove Trengray just took their white flag, so they have another full lap to go to try and sort that battle out for second place in the GTPs.
Gap 27 seconds. Sintes Galindo just needs to stay clean. There's a problem with the road, though. 7th place has crashed again. Pavlovic is upside down with Rosso. Those drivers are off the sand, though. Sintes Galindo drives by the scene. That will not be a factor for the leader, but will drivers like Lake be? He zips on by him.
So Sintes Galindo is going to get past Phil Lake and Yuko Leskola on this lap. So that means Phil Lake, this is his last chance going into this straightaway, but Yuko got a good exit. I don't think Phil's going to be able to get there. He's way too far back. Sintes Galindo free and clear to make it to the end of this race.
Sintes Galindo's already starting the celebration for Push Rod Racing. All the 4 needs to do is make it through the Casio Triangle. Sintes Galindo hasn't broken through for victory since Montreal back on April the 9th in this series. Today, he changes that around. It is Sintes Galindo who breaks on through. He wins it in Japan.
Yuko Leskola also brings it back on his recovery drive to win over Phil Lake by nearly a second. Second place of the GTPs, though, still tight between Kraytrick and Trangarade as they're heading.
Oh, and a lot of dodging to be done with some of those cars involved in the trouble we mentioned. Trangarade still has a chance. Looking all over the back end of the 11. He's got the toe, the block. Trangarade, no place to dive. Checker flag. Martin holds on over in front of Ove.
What a fantastic race we just had, Justin. So many battles all over the tracks. A lot of chaos to talk about for sure. But oh my goodness, it doesn't get better than that.
An unreal finish to this one. 4 different drivers crash out of 7th. And Sintes Galindo able to pick up the pieces after an unbelievable start for the pole sitter. Ends in disaster. All while in the GTOs, a recovery of epic proportions takes place. What a run at Japan. What a lot to talk about for post-race coverage in just a moment. You're watching GSRC for coverage of Kamel GT action from iRacing's virtual Suzuka. Welcome back to Japan after a night and a day for some, which seen plenty of intense action for the Kamel GT Championship, a position curse, and stories of recovery drives and what could have been. Sintez Galindo takes advantage of the what could have been by winning by 28 seconds. The GTPs today. That second place driver, after a hard fought battle, was Krajarek. He holds on over Trangarade after his recovery drive to third. Mascarella is in fourth, then Laust Olsen's recovery drive sees him in fifth. Jason Clapper was mid-pack at one point, crashed, went back to 11th, recovered to get to 6th. Emerson Galvin, first car a lap down, to add one little wrinkle to the curse of being in 7th today. Kurt Clapper recovers from an early pit stop to finish in 8th. Seamus Power and Pavlovic, who did not finish the race after his crashing, finishing in 10th the last lap. Arribas rounds up those who were one lap down. Everyone else to DNF. Magic Juski finishing in 12th position. Bowenauer 13th. And the last driver, that being Suarez. Let's take a look at the GTOs. My goodness.
Yeah, my goodness is right. Yuka Leskala and Phil Lake retained their starting positions, first and second, but that is not the story. Yuka Leskala recovering from sliding wide in the hairpin, a missed shift, running into the flipping Machijuski. I mean, this man saw everything today, and then came back and won the race over a Phil Lake who just couldn't seem to turn the car towards the end of this race. His set just a little bit too tight today. Javier Del Olmo, the only surviving driver out of the battle between Nick McConos and Reed Miller as well, hanging on to that third position. Gregorio Buscemi able to hang on to a fourth spot with Jamie Hamill-Smith in 5th. Reed Miller, after having his troubles, comes home in 6th today with Robert Plumley in 7th, Franco Scurry in the 8th position. Nick McConos all the way back in 9th with Pablo Rangel in the 10th position. Jacob Elliott and Javier Delgado in 11th and 12th with Thabud Russell in 13th and Gabriel Letty, our final finisher in the GTOs, in 14th with Nicholas LaPlante and Austin Badker not finishing the race.
Those two I don't believe even started the race today, so they will take in a bit of an iRating dip, but it's Phil Lake who will take a slight dip in the points, again getting outscored by the 2-car today, and let's go. Phil, we've got plenty of questions after the absolute craziness that took place today. What happened?
For me, it was pretty straightforward. I didn't see too much of the craziness. I know Jacob crashed right behind me, but other than that, the start was probably the most exciting part of the race. And then it was pretty trouble-free from there.
What happened in the later stages with the car, though, is the bigger thing, because what happened to Escala is he turned a prototype. He also hit the bottom of the car you seen flipping in the background, and still came in to close up the 3-second gap to pass for the win with about 2 to go.
Yeah, he's fast. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of grip. The track was stupidly hot, so I'm sure nobody had any grip. But I mean, one thing we've known about Yuko for a while is he's very, very fast. So, and the other thing is I don't need to win, so I just need a second place next week, and it doesn't matter what he does. So that's my game plan. I don't need to fight with him and end up third, which is no good for me. So once he caught me, I just let him go.
You mentioned right there with the championship position, next time out, it gets really interesting because on the schedule, according to the iRacing, I believe it's Orton Park coming up in that regard in the closing stages here for the season. Your approach for the final couple moments of the campaign?
Same as always. I actually kind of like the smaller tracks because it causes some problems for the faster guys, slows them down a bit, makes them drive my speed, and then I have a lot of experience, so I can get through the traffic. Yeah, so just hoping for a good result again. I'm not going to fight for the win, but if it's there, I'll take it. Just got to get a second place. If I can do that, I'm not even going to do Daytona because I really don't like Daytona, and I've got the drop points to win the championship without it.
Anyone you want to thank for the run?
You guys, as always, and my teammates.
Congratulations, Phil, on the podium.
Thanks.
Once again, that's Philip Blake coming away with a top 3 in the GTOs in what was a crazy day for them. But it was a crazy victory for Enter Sintez Galindo. He's with Adam, who picks up the victory. The number 4 does, should say, by 28 seconds.
Yeah, I definitely don't pick up the victory, but Aitor absolutely deserves to. Aitor, you absolutely were able to catch back up to Jakob and absolutely put him under pressure, such that he made one of the most epic mistakes we've seen in quite a while. Talk to me about your race. Aitor, you got us?
Now I got you. Sorry. All right, sorry. Yeah, it's is the crack that I wanted him to do all this time, and it finally came. I should check up the standings because I celebrated it as I was already champion. I should check it out later. But anyways, I'm very tired, very happy with this victory. If I'm not champion, I'm probably like 48 or 49 points or something. So yeah, I am already in a flying low right now. I'm very very happy with this. Well, with all this championship, anything.
Yeah, I mean, Aitor, I believe coming into this round, you were 26 points ahead, which is a full win ahead, and with this wreck out, Jakob does not have any drop points that he can use, so I believe that does make you the champion. So that would be quite epic if that's the case. But
yeah,
talk to me about this race. Traffic seemed to be the story for a lot of drivers, but you guys seem to handle it well.
Well, it's basically experience. I've been on this series for 3 years already. I know a lot of the lines that most of the others do. So it's anything but experience really, and be able to be aware of the situation, what lines they do, what breaking points can you take them. But yeah, it's basically traffic. I don't know what happened to Loud because I think it was just behind me, and all of a sudden it was off, and it was like, oh, something happened. I need to check it out later. But yeah, basically, be careful. Of course, try to respect them. They will respect you as well, and that's it.
Well, Aitor, I'm really happy for you. You've been fighting hard for this for a long time. You know, you may be the victor. We have yet to do the real hard math on that for the season. But if you are, who do you want to thank for this season this year so far? And especially thinking about with 3 races left, what are you thinking?
Well, the usual suspects, you guys for the broadcast, the Kamel community, my teammate Ferran, who made the setup, he was very, very good as usual. My family and friends are watching. I'm sure they are happy with the result. The Kamel community as well. I'm really happy to be here. If I'm champion, it's not even my wildest dreams. I was thinking about this like 3 years ago, and here we are. So yeah, thank everybody, and see you next week at Torrent Park. Will be another crazy race.
Absolutely. Well, congrats at least on the win, Aitor, and we'll give you official congrats if you are the winner on next week's race. But that was Aitor Sintez Galindo, who won today's race and possibly the championship in the GTPs. And Justin has caught up with Laust Olsen, who had a little bit more of a storied day, but still managed a top 5 finish.
Well, it was an adventure for you today as well. How would you describe it from your perspective, especially seeing some of the viewpoints? Despite even the craziness, not too much in terms of the reaction to the craziness around you and with yourself.
Yeah, the start was quite good. I had a great fight in the beginning with Aita, and but then in traffic I made a mistake and too late move into the chicane. So apologies to Reid Miller for putting my nose in where it didn't belong. We had contact, and and I span around. Then I sat in a sandwich between Martin and Uwe, and I had a little bit of aero damage, not much, but it cost a little bit of top speed. Couldn't really do anything. And then I don't know what happened to Martin out of Degner 2. Either he lost the rear a little, or he had to take up for the GTO in front. But suddenly I had nowhere to go and ran into him, and Uwe ran into me, and from then on it was just damage limitation. I had, I think, 2-3 seconds a lap worth of damage at that time. So that was just about bringing it home to in the end. But yeah, I'm a little. I made a mistake in traffic to begin with, and that cost quite a lot today.
Yeah, very, very busy round it seemed, and Sentes Galindo feels he's in position to win the title with this mark. Even though you had some of the slides today and the tough breaks today, you're still in a good spot, possibly to battle for as high as third, maybe even second with Maciejewski's bad luck today. What's your approach now heading to Oran Park coming up then?
Yeah, Oran Park is going to be quite a challenge, I think, especially with traffic. I think there's. I watched a little bit of an older race there, an older broadcast, and it looks like there's only one, perhaps two spots where you can actually pass the GTOs. So it's going to be quite a challenge. So that will be all about survival, I think. And then basically I just have to I have to cut down on all the errors I make. I've made too many errors this season, costing a lot of positions in the races. So that will be my main goal, is to try to get back to some consistency.
What do you want to thank for the run today?
Oh, I want to thank my father for being my spotter, and then you for the great broadcast you do, and the community in general for the great races we have.
Congratulations once again on the run.
Thank you.
Once again, that's Olsen coming away with the top 5 run. And from what I can tell in the community side of things, Sentes Galindo is trying to find the standings because he is trying to start the party. With what happened to the number 1 card today in Jakob Maciejewski, he's with Adam to find out his side of the story with how things were faring entering the championship. It's a major one, to say the least, what happened today.
Yeah, Jakob, I mean, heartbreak for you today. How much of what happened was the pressure from Sentes Galindo, and how much of it was just a little bit of a mistake coming out of Degner too?
I really don't know. Like, I started practice today. I have quite a busy week behind me, but yeah, it's obviously a shame. Just this curb, like, to be fair, every curb on this track is quite tricky, since there's like that double surface, and when you drive out of one surface, the other causes you to bounce a lot, and then in addition there was a car ahead of me that probably caused me to lose a bit of downforce as well, since I believe that dirty air is actually a thing in this car, and I just lost it. Like I haven't done anything differently than the laps before, but the car just lost the rear end, and I went into the wall. Luckily, nobody crashed massively because of this. I saw that Yuko had some maybe damage from hitting me, but yeah, I don't think it was pressure. Like I was a bit unlucky with the traffic until Aitor catched me. Then I managed to get lucky once, and it was 1.5 seconds gap, I think, between us when I crashed, and it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just hard luck today with that moment, and I can definitely confirm that dirty air is the thing in these machines for sure. What are your thoughts heading into Oran Park? That's a very different race than Suzuka. It's going to be one of our more chaotic rounds again. What are your thoughts heading into that one?
I think I'm not doing the last 2 races. mainly because I have Le Mans 24 upcoming from the majors, and then I have BMW Sim GT Cup. So since like the championship is over anyway, I'm just gonna focus on those races and let guys have some fun, especially that I'm not a fan of both Oran Park or Daytona.
Well, I'm sure Santos Glenda will be happy to hear that. I'm sorry to see you not be at the last two races, but happy to see you. We will be very happy to see you at the Majors 24 for sure. Considering this will probably be your last race with us, is there anyone you want to thank for your season? It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast and nice interviews. Thanks to Aitor for giving me a nice challenge, and thanks to Alex Gall for providing setups. Like basically, I use the same setup every week. If it was 5 downforce, but still it was his setup. So thanks to everyone.
Well, thank you, Jakub, and we look forward to seeing you at the Majors 24.
See you.
That was Jakub Machajewski, who unfortunately wrecked out of first position about halfway through this race. Back to you, Justin.
Well, today had it all, and it wasn't just because this track also has a theme park in its vicinity with this Ferris wheel you see. It seemed like everybody was riding in a roller coaster, and the roller coaster absolutely had its ups and downs. But now, it's the matter of seeing how this roller coaster leads into the next run at Oran Park. We'd like to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed up on screen for today's round. Additional thanks go to Jude Law and provides for wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp, Camp Today, for awesome work. Thanks to today's team, myself along with Adam, Joe, and Dougie. You can find out more information on GSRC at SimRacingChannel.com or through our social media on screen. Be sure to check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storemby.com. Keep the link in the description down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Oran Park is the next track up. Who will be able to survive at the Legacy Circuit? Who will be able to make passes at the tight confines of the track? Who will also find a way to hit the bottom of the bridge at a track which also has a crossover section? Find out at 1 p.m. Eastern next Saturday, May the 28th. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on screen, such as that for PRL and Ferrari F3, which also happens to be in Japan this week for some of the action. So check those out and mark them down in your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.